the impact COVID-19 has had on the pharmaceutical industry, leading as a woman, and why you should have the right attitude to join her team.
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. We really appreciate. Novartis has recently opened a new sub-Saharan African unit. Talk to us a little bit about this.
When you look at it, we are moving away from always margin to the point of can we reach more patients with lower margins but more patients. So that's the model that we are looking at right now.
How has coronavirus changed consumer behavior in sub-Saharan Africa, specifically the countries involved?
Consumers for us, it could be the healthcare providers, because those are the people we meet directly, then they're the ones who see the patients on our behalf. It could also be associations for us. This could be the doctors' associations whom we interacted quite a lot, regulatory bodies, etc. What we've seen with HCPs, for instance, is a case where now they're not seeing some of the patients in their clinics. So because of that, they need to get very innovative ways to make sure they still see their patients. And some of them have decided to go virtual to visit their patients. Some of them is through WhatsApp messaging, whether WhatsApp videos. Some of them is through emails. But for us, in terms of seeing the doctors where we can't see them face to face, then we have had to do several things around the virtual to make sure that we are seeing the doctors, whether it's through webinars, whether it's through Skype calls, whether it's through MS Teams, whichever way, to just ensure that we are able to see the HCPs. It's not always easy because we are quite many in the industry. When you look at the medical reps within the industry, there are quite many. So you really have to get a very innovative way and a message that actually will speak to the doctor to benefit the patient at the end of the day. So we've had to really innovate around that space.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the notable changes when it comes to selling medicine because of the coronavirus?
So in most cases, when you look at it, people will always talk about a feature with a benefit attached to the feature when you're selling anything. And that's what I was taught when I got into the pharma industry, that take a biro pen and see it's transparent, the ink, they'll tell you that these are the features and these are the benefits when you look at the biro pen. For pharmaceutical industry, it's a bit different because then at the end of the day, the product has to be efficacious. It has to be given at the right dose. The patient has to get it at the right dose. It has to be given by a healthcare provider at the end of the day. There are those we call OTC, over-the-counter medicine. That's a different ballgame altogether. But still the pharmacists, the people at the over-the-counter have to be educated. So our role in this, we come in to make sure that we're educating the doctors on our products as much as possible. But also we have medical teams, for instance, who then would do what? We'll talk about the medical aspect of the product. So it could be around the disease area, why the doctor needs to prescribe this, and maybe just discussion with the doctor in terms of what the disease is all about. Then we have medical reps who come and talk about our products. So we also try to separate that as much as possible. Even before the pandemic happened, I was a woman and I'm still a woman now, yeah. And yes, that comes out, but I would say over time, I would say probably it's changing. And why do I say that? Because I remember when I started the market, when I got into the field, a lot of the medical reps who we look at salespeople who are actually selling the ethical drugs were pretty much women. And the people who held leadership positions were men. And I remember sometimes I would sit in a leadership team and I'm the only woman there, but I was not at the level where you'd say, I am right now. So maybe a sales manager, for instance. Did it ever make me feel like I was out of place or I had to work hard? Sometimes, yes, because then your voice is not heard unless you shout, which is quite unfortunate. But sometimes I really had to come up and say, excuse me, I was talking. Can you just have to say those kind of things for me to get my space? But over time, people come to recognize you as a leader, and not so much as a woman, but as a leader. And that's why I'm saying that has changed pretty well. So those stereotypes were there, but I would say things are changing. And I think most of the companies are also saying that women should have an equal space within any table. But also what I always say, women, we also have to make sure we raise our voice. We cannot do that when you're at the back end, not doing anything. And one of the things I always mention to my teams is, let's not get a job because we are women. Let's get a job because we are competent. And so that we are on a level playing field. It's not so much of equality. I look at it at equity. That's what we need to work on. That we have to give us our best and make sure then we are applying for these roles, we are getting these jobs because we are competent. And I'll feel very insulted if someone gave me a job because I'm a woman. I'd rather they give me a job because I'm competent enough to, like the next person.
Is there a specific skill that you look for when it comes to hiring, especially now with coronavirus? Do you feel that there is that one skill that is really needed when it comes to in the work environment for Novartis?
For me as a leader, one of the things I've always looked at is by the time someone has reached a certain stage of the interview, let's say the final stage, it means from a technical skills perspective, they're where they need to be. What I look for now is attitude. Because attitude for me is everything. You can be the brightest mind in the world, you can be the most intelligent person in the world, but with a bad attitude, you'll not get anywhere. It has to be someone who can be molded, someone who has a learning mindset, someone who is not always protecting whatever it is or being defensive, someone who is ready to listen to others, someone who can take in feedback very well. I'd rather work with an average worker whom I know can be upskilled but with the right attitude than the best of workers with a rotten attitude.
Is telemedicine the future of medicine?
It will definitely play a big part, but it's not the only thing. Because I think as human beings, and not only in Africa, across the world, we like seeing each other. We like touching. Doctors like seeing you and being able to put the stethoscope and just try to make sure then from a triage perspective, the nurses do what they need to do, temperatures, all those kind of things. I know there's a patient I know of who actually is supposed to be seeing a doctor in South Africa. And when this patient asked, can we have a virtual visit? He said, no, I need to see you physically. This is Kenya and South Africa, so you can look at that, and we consider South Africa quite developed. Telemedicine will still play a part, but I believe the face-to-face kind of interaction is very critical, because sometimes you need to feel the pulse to know that actually is it happening, or the patient is just saying their own things. So the doctors need to feel that kind of interaction.
Well, quite a very informative, interview right there on the pharmaceutical industry, the way COVID has impacted it. But right now, the big story is surrounding Uganda as a country and it going into an election. We have Museveni going against Bobby Wine or the other way around. Right now, I'm joined by Mombasa